All right, guys, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. My name is Eric Paul with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be getting into the BMW Championship, kind of just giving my final thoughts while just talking about the first round leader bets, the outright bets, and the showdown picks for round one, as well as touching on the ownership for the BMW Championship. So we are going to start off with the betting tool, so we'll get into that right away. So the one thing I want to touch on is that this week for the first round leader betting, I'm not sure that we have to target the AM tee times only. Now I've touched on this a long time, a lot this season, is that we really just need to concentrate on betting the golfers that are most likely to win. And kind of what I figured out is that by reducing the field to 5%, whether it be for first round leader or outright bets, you are going to set yourself up to succeed more than you do not. So that has been the approach that I've adopted, and it's been very successful. And so if you still want to do that, my approach with first round leader betting has been AM only. Okay. And at the very least with showdowns, because that goes hand in hand, is that you're at least setting yourself up with golfers that are all kind of projected to play well, and you're kind of just reducing your player pool naturally so that you can kind of gain an edge just that way. So if you want to do it that way, you can. If you were to do it that way, here are the golfers that are most likely to have the first round lead with those early tee times. We can see not that nice. If we go a little bit deeper, we get Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele in there. A lot of the top end plays for first round leader betting are actually coming from the afternoon tee time. Okay, so we throw everyone in there. We can see Rory, Scotty, Patrick Cantlay, John Rahm. That is the biggest problem with this week, is that all the golfers that are great first round leader bets are really coming later on in the day. Okay, so maybe this is a week, and I think it is. It's a week in which, if you are going to first round leader bet, it's just the full slate. Okay, it's tough. It is what it is. That's kind of just what we have. So it's almost a week in which I don't want to do a round one showdown. And it's always those weeks where you don't want to do a slate, and then you do two lineups and that lineup hits big. And then you're just like, man, if I would just enter my normal amount, think about the bank I would have made. So I'm still trying to gauge whether or not I want to play this slate or not for showdown purposes. But for first round leader betting, honestly, I really don't mind the idea of going like Rory, maybe Rahm, maybe Xander, Sanjay. I do still really like Cameron Young as well. So if we are going to do first round leader betting, I think Cameron Young makes a lot of sense. He's someone that I don't mind outright wise as well. You go Xander. I think he makes a lot of sense. Rory, just been a stud first round leader wise, and maybe you just stop it there. Maybe you just stop it at those three. Maybe Sanjay and you throw in there, maybe those four. But now we're at 5%. In a field of 70, we're already at 5% of the field. So that's kind of the worry there with first round leader betting. It kind of just seems like one of those weeks in which you're trying to get lucky. And you guys know me, I like to kind of really be data focused with it, and we just don't have that. Talk about players that are most likely to win. Well, Willie Z is popping up here now because, well, he finally won. He finally broke through and got that W. Okay, he ranked like 17th in first round or in win rank last week, although he ranked out 7th in the 9 to 5 model because he hadn't won yet. Okay, so this win rank does factor in the fact that players have won before, and that's kind of where the two model rankings are a little bit different. Okay, so I typically like to go off the 9 to 5 model. This is for people that more or less like to bet a little bit more. But we can see Roy the most likely to win, then Patrick Cantlay, then Xander, then Scotty, then Willie Z, then Matt Fitzpatrick. Personally, guys, I like these two. Okay, my biggest problem with this week is that I really don't think we have any reason not to just target Matt Fitzpatrick, guys. Matt Fitzpatrick is just the class of the field. Okay, best in course history. Now, that doesn't really mean much to me. Fifth best in recent form. He's in such great recent form. It's just tough not to love this guy. The starts have been there. The starts have been excellent. We look at his past 5 starts. Obviously, they've been great. It includes 2 victories, a 5th, a 21st, a 10th. Just excellent stuff there from Matt Fitzpatrick. He is someone that really, I don't see how we do not play him this week. Not the Masters champ. The U.S. Open champ, I said 2 victories earlier, not 2 victories, but he's been someone that just been playing some great golf. It's going to be tough for me not to play him. I mean, best specialist, and I already touched on this in the first video. I think that we should be looking at specialists more than we are looking at event history, okay? Because specialist is kind of pulling in all the natural comp courses that people would typically like to look at, whether that's course designer, bank greens, how it's going to play, the course type and whatnot. We already have all that factored into the special stats. So first in that, 7th best stat fit, 5th best recent form, 2nd best in the 95 model. I kind of just want to just bet him and just be done with it. On the season, we're already up big on the year. Personally, it's just like, all right, we're good. We're good for the 22 season. A goal met, successful year. Maybe just bet 1 or 2 more players. Now, if you didn't want to do that, if you want to bet some more players, I will say Tony Finau does make a lot of sense. I like him a lot as a bet. Kind of got onto him more as the week went on, and really, I was just looking at him compared to Rory, who I also really like. Like, both of them have great event history. And then both of them are just standout plays. Tony Finau, 6th best specialist, 2nd best course history, event history, 3rd best stat fit, and 1st in recent form race. So yeah, Tony Finau, just an excellent play. Both of them at 14-1 makes a lot of sense. And then if you want to get fun with it, and I literally mean that, Sanjay M does make a lot of sense. Best stat fit in the field, 20-1 for him. And then you can also get Cameron Young at 25-1 or 20-1, kind of just depending on where you're looking. Those would be the other two to get to that 5% threshold that I would bet on as well. Okay, now we're going to get into the fades. All right, so let me just do this real quick. There we go. Okay, we're going to get into the ownership leverage tool here. All right. So guys, the theme once again this week for ownership leverage is the simple fact that this has been the problem. This has been the problem, is that when no golfers are like too severely overowned compared to the other players around them, no one's really overowned. Like Rory properly owned, Xander properly owned, Matt Fitzpatrick, they got a lot of high ownership, and I'm not saying they're properly owned, but because the ownership's so spread out in that price point range, like there's really no bad plays ownership wise. Okay. And that was the problem last week. That was the problem the week before that, is that when DraftKings does a good job of pricing and when the plays are all basically the same, like they are this week, I've touched on this a decent amount. It's that all the most of their own players on the slate are going to be the high end plays, because when the ownership's the spread out, all of them are kind of under-owned. Now, maybe Colin Morikawa is a little bit over-owned. We can see that. So a lot of people are liking the news that he got his swing back, which, hey, if he did, sure, that'd be fun to pay attention to. Tom Kim, still not a full data set going into him just yet, but he is currently someone that's a little bit overvalued, but really everyone is properly valued until we start to get into this range, okay? And I'm just going to go to leverage rank percent. So yeah, that should be projected ownership percent. Sorry. Trey Mullinax. And I think Trey Mullinax is very interesting. Patrick Cantlay came out and said that this tournament is going to play out exactly like how last year's tournament played out, which is weird because they are on different courses. But who told you guys that all these kind of different venues and companies that host these tournaments kind of want to find the same tracks or kind of want to have the same feel to them? It's just kind of what happens. So it's no shock that there's a player coming out and saying that, hey, this tournament might play the same as it did in a previous season. Okay, or than it did last year. So he kind of said it's going to be another tournament in which you just have to drive it down the fairway or drive it as far as you can, and you got an advantage. So a lot of people are seeing that with Trey Mullinax and like, yes, driving distance, we're going with Trey Mullinax, which is true. Same thing with Wyndham Clark, who I actually love Wyndham Clark this week. But, Trey Mullinax, if you did want to fade him, like you could. He had 4 good, really, really good starts in a row. If you look at someone like Taylor Pendrith, who he had been in great recent form, fell off. You look at Xander, he had been in great recent form, finally fell off last week. Like, those are much better players. Like, for a player like Troy Mullinax, he's eventually going to come back to his mean. I will say I do like that he does set up well for this tournament, and I do love his price point. And in a week in which studs and duds is definitely the approach, he makes a lot of sense. So I think I'll stay on Trey Mullinax, and I definitely am going to stay on Wyndham Clark. But if you want to fade Taylor Moore, Emiliano Grillo, who I don't exactly love as much, you could. Sleet Tagala, you could fade. Russell Henley, I don't really like at all. Taylor Pendrith does make sense. Once again, if driving distance is going to be somewhat of a factor, you could look at that. Now, I do want to let you guys know, don't just look at driving distance. Look at hole driving as well, okay? Accuracy and length combined is what matters, okay? Don't get too carried away with driving distance. That's just my warning. It is a nice little cherry on top if that's what you're looking at, but just want to throw it out to you guys. And then from there, like, just, you know, no one too over-owned, okay? So, like, are the players that are ranking out well leverage-wise going to produce? They are, for the most part, okay? But that's really it. In case you guys didn't check, I did get onto Tony Finau. As the week went on, I like him a little bit more than I do Xander Schauffele, okay? So kind of my core plays this week are going to be Tony Finau, Matt Fitzpatrick, okay? And I'm just really mixing and matching the value plays as they come because I think those value plays are all very solid. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.